Welcome to Asian ID happens when a single midnight moment in Hae-in turns into a spark that ignites an entire internet into obsession, and when Wang Haozhen, fully disguised, appears quietly on set just to see Yuxin. Doesn't that already feel like the opening scene of a story too cinematic to be accidental? How could she recognize him instantly through layers of masks and shadows, as if familiarity had already carved his presence into her instincts, and when she runs toward him without hesitation, wrapping him in a tight embrace that lingers just a second too long, doesn't that moment blur the fragile boundary between colleagues and something more? Isn't it that exact hesitation, the extra heartbeat, the unguarded smile, the instinctive closeness, that fuels every speculation we cannot quite prove but cannot ignore when the video spreads like wildfire across social media, turning whispers into waves? Aren't we no longer just watching, we're in as the so-called national couple once again steps into the spotlight? Doesn't the question deepen rather than disappear? Is this the natural evolution of emotion, or the most sophisticated illusion the short drama industry has ever perfected? Looking back at the national husband brings home, wasn't that where everything truly began, when Yuxin and Wang Haozhen portrayed a 13-year mutual longing so vividly that audiences forgot where fiction ended? Didn't it already plant the seed of belief? And when a simple 520 gesture became a viral confession, wasn't it more than a scene? It was a shared emotional code that millions chose to decode as. But when success leads to repetition, and repetition leads to strategy, doesn't the narrative begin to shift as media emerged, transforming sweetness into tension, and intimacy into calculated intensity? Didn't we start to notice a pattern beneath the passion? And when behind-the-scenes moments, lifting her in the snow, asking softly if she was hurt, choosing discomfort so she could rest, are endlessly replayed, are we witnessing sincerity, or its most convincing reconstruction? Can care be rehearsed, or does repetition only make it more believable? And when every small gesture becomes evidence, dissected frame by fans hungry for truth, isn't the story no longer theirs alone? Yet the rational voice lingers, doesn't it? In an industry where timing is everything, where attention equals survival, can such perfectly timed interactions truly be spontaneous? And when follows disappear, new partnerships emerge, and narratives shift just as quickly as they form, doesn't it suggest a system far more calculated than emotional? Isn't it possible that this late night visit, this viral embrace, is not just affection, but a signal, a statement, a move in a much larger game? And if so, does that make it less real, or simply real in a different way? Because what we often forget is that actors are not passive pieces. Aren't they? They navigate between truth and performance, between what they feel and what they must show, balancing emotion with consequence at every step, don't they? And when millions of eyes scrutinize every glance, every touch, every pause, doesn't even authenticity begin to transform into something performative? So where does that leave us, the watchers, the believers, the skeptics? Are we chasing truth, or are we chasing the feeling that truth gives us? And when a single line like "I want to see Haozhen" can send hearts spiraling, isn't it proof that what we crave is not certainty, but possibility? Perhaps the most unsettling part of all is this: what if the truth itself no longer matters? What if this delicate space between reality and illusion, where emotions feel real regardless of their origin, is exactly where we want to stay? Because in the end, whether it is love born from shared scenes or a story carefully written beyond the script, one question refuses to fade: when you feel your heart race watching them, are you witnessing their reality, or exposing your own longing for a love that feels just as real? Thank you for watching the video. See you again.